Imagine a time when the world was far more interconnected than we often think. Before the internet, before planes and even steamships, there was trade, culture, and knowledge flowing between continents. What if I told you that centuries ago, an African kingdom not only connected with India and China, but also thrived through these exchanges? This is the story of Africa's global links, a narrative of exploration, innovation, and collaboration that you may have never heard of. Our story begins along the East African coast, where the Swahili city-states flourished between the 8th and 15th centuries. These weren't just small settlements, they were thriving hubs of trade and culture. Cities like Kilwa, Mombasa, and Zanzibar were buzzing with activity, their ports filled with dhows carrying goods from across the Indian Ocean. But who were they trading with? The answer lies in the vast Indian Ocean trade network, which connected Africa to India and China. This network wasn't just about exchanging goods, it was about sharing ideas, technology, and culture. The Swahili coast was rich in resources. African traders exported ivory, gold, and iron, commodities highly prized in India and China. In return, they imported silk, porcelain, and spices. Can you picture this? African artisans working with fine Chinese porcelain or wearing luxurious Indian silks. It's a vivid image of how interconnected these worlds were. Archaeologists have uncovered Chinese porcelain in ancient Swahili cities, a testament to these connections. Imagine how far these items traveled, thousands of miles across treacherous seas. How did they manage such long voyages in an age without GPS? The key was the dhow, a traditional sailing vessel designed to harness the power of the monsoon winds. These winds, predictable and strong, blew toward Africa for half the year and toward Asia for the other half, creating a natural conveyor belt for trade. This wasn't just commerce, it was advanced navigation, a mastery of oceanic winds that allowed African, Indian, and Arab sailors to establish regular trade links. But trade wasn't only about goods, it was also about ideas. Along with silk and spices came religion and innovation. Islam, brought by Arab traders, became deeply rooted in the Swahili coast. At the same time, influences from Indian and Chinese cultures shaped art, language, and architecture. You can see this cultural blend in the architecture. Swahili doors with intricate Indian carvings or Chinese porcelain embedded in the walls of mosques. Even the Swahili language, which developed as a trade lingua franca, borrowed words from Arabic, Hindi, and even Chinese. Let's zoom in on the human side of these interactions. What was it like for an African merchant to step foot in the bustling ports of Calicut in India or the ancient city of Guangzhou in China? These weren't just trade trips, they were opportunities to build relationships, share stories, and learn from one another. There are even records of African ambassadors in Chinese courts and vice versa. The famous Chinese explorer Zheng He visited East Africa during his voyages in the early 15th century, leaving behind gifts and creating diplomatic ties. Imagine the conversations, the awe, and the curiosity on both sides. So why does this history matter today? It reminds us that Africa has always been part of the global story. It challenges the narrative that Africa was isolated or only a recipient of outside influence. The truth is, Africa was an active participant, shaping and being shaped by its connections with India, China, and beyond. This history also teaches us about resilience and ingenuity, qualities that enabled these ancient communities to thrive in a globalized world long before the term globalization even existed. The legacy of these ancient connections lives on. The cultural and economic ties established centuries ago are still evident in modern Africa-Asia relationships. From trade partnerships to cultural exchanges, the past continues to shape the present. And as we look to the future, there's a lesson here for all of us. When we collaborate and exchange ideas across cultures, we create something far greater than the sum of its parts. The story of an African kingdom's contact with India and China isn't just a history lesson. It's a reminder of the power of human connection. So next time you think about Africa, India, or China, remember this shared history and the incredible journeys that brought these worlds together. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from history.